Hello everyone, this is Dr. Miles. This is a bonus video to the other videos that I did this week. So they were all on healthy meal ideas. Tuesday was breakfast, Wednesday was lunch, and Thursday was dinner. And so today the bonus video is on snacks, which now that I think about it, I probably should have done first because this is the area, hi there, this is the area where people have, I think, a lot of trouble. I think they can do typically pretty well with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it's the snacking in between that really can get them in trouble. So they'll have like their certain portion which they think, and then this could even start to happen right after you finish eating, which is one of the issues that I've had in the past. And even now I still have to be mindful of what I'm feeling and what I'm doing so that I can make sure I'm managing this well. But for some people, right after they finish eating, they want something else, or they want something sweet. Or maybe it comes a little bit later in between lunch and dinner. Some people just have a dip and they think that they need food to come out of that dip. Or they're just bored and they want to eat, or they just feel this need to chew and then they want to start eating because they want to chew. And we'll get into a few more reasons towards the end as to why how you snack is really, really important. So I'll just give a few ideas in terms of things that you can snack on that would be considered healthy snacks. One thing that I would encourage you to do is to just really take a week to eliminate all of your processed snacks and just get them out and then replenish with new healthy snacks. So one of the reasons for this, and it's up to you if you just want to kind of transition off of them, but you have to look at the type of person that you are to see if that's something you can do. And what I mean by that is, are you a good moderator or are you not? So for some people, it may take some time to get used to this. And what I can tell you though is that what you'll gain from eating in a healthier fashion is that you will start to understand the difference between something satisfying your taste buds and making you feel full versus when something actually nourishes you and satisfies your appetite all at the same time. There's a difference, and it's through doing it that you can really start to feel the difference. In addition to that, of course, if you're eating healthier, you're not going to experience some of the same symptoms you would from eating processed foods or eating foods that may or may not be a food sensitivity for you and you're not aware of it. So first thing to consider are different vegetable sticks like celery, cucumber, bell pepper, zucchini or yellow squash, carrot sticks, and then having something to dip that in. So for some of you, you might like vinaigrettes, right? Others, you might like different nut butters like almond butter, cashew butter. There's also macadamia butter, sunflower butter. There's all types of butters. So it goes very, very well beyond peanut butter now, which for a lot of people has become a significant allergy. For some people though, nuts are an issue. Sometimes they go overboard on eating them, but also the way that they are stored in terms of how they're harvested, stored, and then brought to the market, they can grow mold. And so for some people, they may have a reaction for that reason. So if you're an older person and you think back to when you were younger and things were just growing on the, nuts were just growing on the trees, and you ate it and you had no problem, that could be part of the issue. Or it's just that something else about mass production and mass harvesting, there's something else about that becomes an issue for your body. So mold could be one of those. But I would also say that if you have a digestive issue, that I have seen a lot of people have sensitivities to nuts and seeds. So one of the ways that you can somewhat counteract that is, one, to moderate, don't overdo nuts and seeds. But you can also put some probiotic powder in there. Another one is just have some fruit. So a green apple, I think, is a great option because it's one that you're less likely to binge on. It's sweet enough, it's tart enough, um, but it also has a lot of fiber. So you're probably not going to sit there and just eat an apple like you would a bunch of grapes, right? Or you wouldn't go crazy on apple like you would on banana. So green apple is a great one. You can also add in some cinnamon to that, or some nutmeg. Season it up that way as well. So cinnamon is also particularly great for blood sugar and helps you to digest your food better. So there's something unique about apple pie in that way. Not that I'm saying go eat apple pie, but I'm saying the fact that someone figured out that apples and cinnamon go well together. Maybe that could have started from them realizing something about it was helpful for the digestion, or it could have just been taste. Either way, cinnamon is helpful for not only digestion, but also blood sugar. So, of course, if you're having an apple, you're welcome to add in some walnuts with that. Again, don't overdo it. Maybe keep it to like half a cup. So another one could be 1 to 2 oranges. So oranges are citrus. And so citrus in general is great for stimulating good liver flow, liver health. So sometimes people who do not have good liver flow are going to be more constipated, might be more irritable, more moody, and their digestion could very much be compromised. And so citrus can really help to stimulate that the liver to flow better. And then also in terms of just managing blood sugar, the berries in general are more low glycemic. So blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, cherries. The ones that I have found particularly helpful in terms of curbing food cravings would be blueberries and raspberries. So maybe have like a cup of those. Don't get like the whole, pint or the 2 pints and just go to town. Of course, you still do have to have moderation when it comes to fruits. And of course, that kind of depends on which diet you decide to adopt. For some people who are doing high fruit raw vegan, that's a different story. But I'm talking about the ones who decide to add fruit into the rest of their diet. So from that standpoint, yeah, you still don't want to overdo fruit. For some people, it's better that they only have fruit in the morning. Fruit is very quickly digested, and so if you're combining it with other things, it can ferment because now it's going to take longer to get through your system than it would if you had eaten it first thing in the morning. So sometimes if people overdo fruit or they eat it at the wrong time of the day, that can cause them symptoms. And particularly if they overdo it, they could have some weight gain. So there was one lady in particular who was gaining a lot of weight from eating a whole lot of watermelon, but it was a lot of water weight. For whatever reason, her body wasn't letting go of that water. So that's another discussion as to why your body doesn't want to let go of the water. But at the same time, forgot to put my phone on do not disturb. Looking at where you are right now, that could be something to keep in mind, that maybe there's certain fruits that you do have to moderate because maybe you're going to hold on to the water too much. Also, one thing that my grandmother used to do all the time was sliced cucumbers with vinegar, salt, and pepper. That was just her snack all the time, and it was delicious. I liked the smell of it for whatever reason. It wasn't even just the vinegar, but it was the salt and the pepper with the vinegar. It was a good combination. And then just don't forget about herbal teas. So you don't necessarily have to snack on food. Sometimes it's better to snack on something to drink. So just remember that sometimes we're not actually always hungry. Sometimes we might be thirsty, but it may come across to you like hunger. But if you start to feel that way, then one of the things you may want to consider is when was the last time I had some water? And if it's been a few hours, then definitely drink some water first, or again have an herbal tea. So a couple to keep in mind that might be helpful for you in your day would be passion flower. So a lot of times people during the day, they get stressed out, so passion flower can kind of help calm you down. Of course, chamomile, which most people know about. And then nettles leaf. Nettles is going to be very nutritive. but it can also help with reducing histamine in the body. So if you're somebody who has a lot of just allergies in general, nettles can be supportive in that way. Of course, ginger tea is great for that. Is great as well for digestive wellness and reducing inflammation. Um, and then it can also be great to have, if you're starting to feel kind of some indigestion after you eat, maybe wait about 45 minutes and then start drinking the tea. So the other thing to consider, I just wanted to give a few snacks really, because what I have noticed is that sometimes people who over snack and people who overeat in general, there are underlying reasons from their past as to why they do that. And so it could be that you still have a running record in the back of your mind that you're not enough for whatever reason, and whether that be something that your parents did, something that friends did. It could be you're a very sensitive individual, and so you're still not aware of how to protect your own energy and to protect yourself from other people's energy, and so that keeps you anxious. And so you look for food because that helps to comfort you in a time of stress. Then it could also be that there's lack of coping mechanisms, and the only major one is food. So one thing about food is that it's a very quick reliever of stress for those who have chosen it as a coping mechanism for stress. However, on the other side of that can come various symptoms, including weight gain, right? Depending on what you eat, it can give you a high and then drop you very, very low in a few hours, or drop you very low the next day. And so the quick relief comes with another set of stress. So the reason I'm saying that is because one thing that I would like you to consider is putting effort, and I did say the word effort, into developing new coping mechanisms. Because either way, you're going to have a little bit of stress. You're either going to get the quick relief and have the stress on the back end, or you're going to have a longer time to get to that relief. But this effort in between, that work that you put in to develop the new coping mechanism, is going to, over time, be less stressful to you than this constant quick relief and the massive amount of stress on the back end, because this quick reliever is not a constructive reliever. So that's pretty much just like anything else, like cigarettes or different recreational drugs, alcohol. It's kind of the same thing. These are quick, but they also have their own stressors that come afterwards. So you basically are picking your stress. You want to have it in the beginning, and it's a more constructive stress, which is good stress, or you want to have it later. I would encourage you to think about having this constructive stress in the beginning, so that you can over time have a better habits. So you say, yeah, you snack all the time, get cravings, and you may not be hungry. Yeah, and so there's different reasons why people do get cravings and they're not necessarily hungry. And so some of that is because of emotional, mental components that started in the past, and they still have this running record that makes them feel like they're not enough, or they're sensitive, and they also generally may have anxiety or depression, and it's so low level that it's not to the point that you would think to go to a doctor about it or to see someone about it, and you're always just kind of self-medicating through food. And what I would encourage you to do even more so, is if you're really trying to get away from food as your coping mechanism, is allow yourself to see just what it feels like to go without that food, and see how are you dealing with that? How are you bearing with that? Write down what happens, and then go talk to someone about it so that they can help you to decide, okay, is this okay? Is this normal? Or is it just that maybe it's going to take a little bit of time for you to get used to that feeling again? So for some people, what's happened to me, I can talk, is that, let's say I was, stress eating on something for a while, and then I was like, okay, I'm getting off of this. what would happen in that first 3 days, maybe, is that I would have a lot of tension. And I would just be fighting and fighting the craving. And eventually, my body balanced back out because all that processed food makes you go off balance. And so, one, you're already trying to deal with some inner stress, and then you knock your body off balance with processed food, and then you have, again, that even more stress. And then you cycle back because you're stressed, and then you want to eat the food again, right? So that first time when you actually are going to get off the food, yeah, it's not going to necessarily be pretty. But if you can wait it out, and again, I said a few days of me having to just kind of grin and bear it. But after that time, my body started to calm down. And my body started to get more in the habit of eating healthy and get more in the habit of knowing what it feels like to not eat food and still be okay. It's an awkward feeling on top of that because you're not, it's like the food is somewhat of a tangible thing for you. It's the thing that you kind of hook on to. But that doesn't mean that if you don't hook onto it, everything's just gonna be nothing. You're still gonna be here. The world is still gonna be here. And if anything, your perception of the world around you is going to heighten, which is not a bad thing. You're gonna probably notice things that you didn't notice before because you were too occupied with the food. Your mind was too much on the food all the time, and now you can see the world differently. So this is why it's really important for you to know why you are snacking. Other people, they have low adrenal function. And so that can create a lot of food cravings. That's something that I help my clients with is low adrenal function. So that can look like a lot of food cravings, low digestion, low energy, not able to sleep at night despite being tired all the time, depression. It can affect your reproductive system, your thyroid system. And again, hypothyroid is not always a direct thyroid issue. Sometimes it can come from other places such as low adrenal function. So there's different reasons as to why someone may have food cravings, but I definitely encourage you to figure out which one it is. And if it's all of those, then yeah, these are, because sometimes it is multiple things, right? I mean, we can be complex individuals, and it's important to work on every single one that you have identified could be part of the craving. See here, not aware that I'm stressed. Having said that, emotional eating and restless sleep could be insomnia. Yeah, so the other reason that someone could be craving food is that they don't sleep well. So there have definitely been times where I didn't get enough sleep, and the first thing I wanted in the morning, I'm not even going to say the food because I don't want to trigger anyone to go get the food, but it was a very high carb, high sugar food. It happened like every single time, and eventually I learned, oh, this is what happens when I don't sleep well. So does that mean go get the food? No. It means maybe at some point later in the day you go take a nap. Go take a nap to catch up, and so that'll help bring your body back into balance so those cravings can go down. Another thing to look at is protein. So protein can also help to balance out your need for cravings as well. So just keep that all in mind when you're thinking about snacking, especially or maybe you just have a tendency to overdo things in general. It's not even just snacking, you just overdo things, or you overthink, or you over something. Again, that may be going back to something from your past that makes you feel like something about you or something in general is not enough, and so you compensate by overdoing something. Or it could just be a tendency that you're not exactly sure where it's there. In any case, it's good to be mindful of when you start to see yourself overdoing something, overeating something. Sometimes we just get into this habit and we just keep going and going. And one time I had to tell one of my clients, because she liked chips, and she started to eat the chips all the time. And this was someone who had a digestive issue. So I tell all of my clients who have digestive issues, you have to rotate your food. Don't eat the same thing all the time because it can eventually become a food sensitivity. So she was still eating the chips a lot, And eventually, she just had one day where her body completely rejected the chips. And I warned her, but she kept going because she was too far in to stop. And so that's what I'm saying. When you start to see yourself getting to that point where you are just overdoing it, cut it off. Throw out the chips. Give them to somebody else. You can always give, right? It doesn't have to stay with you. And so sometimes I've had to do that. And I had to also remind myself, because I don't like to create waste. And so, particularly with food, again, we can talk about, well, you had to eat all the food on your plate when you were little. Otherwise, your parents would get mad at you, right? Or maybe you have a lot of compassion for the world, or maybe your parents gave you that compassion. It was like, there's people who are out here who are not eating. You better eat all the food. You better eat all the food. And that's not necessarily true, that you need to eat all the food on your plate. There's a lot of cultures that put too much food on people's plates. And I've seen that. And so just because someone is offering you food and gets offended that you don't eat it, that's their problem and not yours. So, and that's truly how I feel about it. Nobody can convince me, especially if it's someone I don't know and they're just upset that I don't want their food. Be like, hey, I got food sensitivities. Sorry. Or, that's enough. I'm good. And then, of course, because I'm a smaller person, especially from women, older women, they will say, oh, you need to put some meat on your bones. You're too small and blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, they're usually overweight. So people are going to try to give you their opinions. That doesn't mean that you have to listen to them. They will try to sometimes react in such a way that they're trying to say that you offended them or insulted them. But that's not always your issue to fix. Sometimes it's them. It's on them to fix that. And you still have to stay in the lane that works best for you, to survive, to thrive, to feel good on a regular basis. Because at the end of the day, let's say you ate that food just because you didn't want to offend somebody, and then you're the one who's struggling at night to sleep because you ate something that keeps you up at night because it gives you a lot of inflammation. So there's a lot that can go on when it comes to why people eat what they eat, why people eat how much they eat, which snacks that they choose over other ones. And so it can be, like I said, a very comprehensive thing. And knowing the different factors that are there is going to help you to deal with it better. Because if you don't always know the factors that are there, it can be hard to put in a compensatory mechanism that will help you. So one thing I've mentioned is that you can snack because you don't feel like you're enough, or something about your life is not enough. You want more. And so the food can be a way of you overeating because you want more. And so one thing that you can try to implement is when you notice yourself just eating for no reason, right? You can say to yourself, I am enough. And just see what it does. Just see if at that moment your body just says, I'm good. I don't need any more food. I encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. Like if you're just trying to fight the craving, which again, I have fought it before and I have beat it just by fighting. But then there's other times I waited too long to do another compensatory mechanism, and I was already in the trend, as I said, of overeating. So there were times I didn't want to stop. So again, knowing the factors that trigger you to overeat and coping in such a way faster than when you would actually go to eat the food. That's going to be really, really important. You may have come from a family that doesn't want to tell their business to anyone. They try to tell you to keep your business to yourself. But if you're somebody who's struggling day to day because you can't talk to anyone and you're just trying to deal with all the inner tension that you have, I would encourage you to start to open up to a therapist. They are trained to hear the things that you are willing to say. So I help people from a digestive perspective. I'm a doctor who focuses, Yeah, and I see, yeah, fight away, but it keeps coming back. And yeah, a mindset is something that's much more strong and more continuous than your efforts sometimes to fight it. But what I would say is that each time you fight it, you have to, you will learn something each time. And so the fight continues, right? And you continue to get more information, more information, more information each time. You learn about something that I've said might have, excuse me about that. But yeah, through continuing to fight, you learn and you can implement the new things that you learn. So I'm a doctor that focuses on prevention, IBS, and kidney disease. So a lot of my clients who come to me with IBS, or like I also see things outside of those three. So a lot of times with people with digestive issues, they tend to have food cravings or low adrenal function, can be sensitive individuals. So I'm often referring to mental health therapists because there are things that may come up in the consultation that I'm like, hey, have you talked to a therapist about these things? Because I know what my specialty is. I know what I focus on, and I know when they need help outside of me, in addition to me, I really should say. And so, in addition to the things that I'm mentioning to you here, if you've never been to therapy, I encourage you to go. Find someone that you trust and that you like and that you feel is working in your interest and wants the best for you. So, in any case, again, I'm Dr. Miles. Feel free to, if you're struggling with, or if you would like help with prevention, IBS, or kidney disease, feel free to click the link in the bio or go to drdevonmiles.com/appointments, and I would be happy to work with you. I do telehealth consultations, so I can see you from anywhere. All right, guys, have a great day.